Welcome to the Lens Podcast!
That one
We're
even
back.
caught me off guard. I was in the middle of trying to respond to you, and here we are.
The show has begun, and your sentence will never be completed.
It will
It wasn't
not.
that important.
But you know what is complete?
That's true.
Groups.
Mm-hmm.
Groups has finished. And
You know what else was completed?
what?
The TSM Legendary Run.
Oh,
No.
yeah.
You know,
Not a
the
single win, Anthony.
the way that all
they
the NA
completed-
teams didn't make it out of groups either.
Yeah,
Oh.
but at least they won a couple games.
But it doesn't matter if you win any games if you don't get out of the group, does it? What's the
yes.
difference?
Moral victory.
Yes, it does.
Moral
For North
victory.
American, let's save it.
Haymant, you're just glad FlyQuest got a fluke of a victory over TES.
Fuck, they actually got it. Hey, I'll take my dubs wherever I can, and apparently you can't take any dubs
but
because
you
TSM's just gone.
You beat Spellbook Urgot. Let that sink in. You beat Spellbook Urgot.
Anthony,
Hey,
not a single
and who'd
character
you beat?
play in League. Not a single character you.
I didn't have to
individual-
beat Spellbook Urgot to finish
But you
exactly
couldn't beat,
where you finished.
But you could not beat my spellbook god. So like, don't disrespect the spellbook god. That shit's nasty. I'll clap you every day of the week, bro.
Spellbook Urgot. Ugh. Who's picking Spellbook Urgot out here? Oh my god.
Me next clash, bro.
No.
Get ready for the bot lane.
No.
Oh,
You're my
we'll talk
support
about
now.
that.
No.
We'll talk about that next time, but we got to go all the way back up to A, guys. Start with the alphabet. There's no particular order, but for groups, we got to go with it.
Alright, Group A. You got TL, Machi, G2, and Sunning. Not in that order.
Mm-hmm.
Alright,
Oh.
so I'm real mad at TL right now.
Okay.
Because had they beat Machi or G2 a second time, they'd be out of this group. So mad about this. One,
All right.
one of two games that they have proven they are able to beat both of these teams on, they needed to win, and they couldn't do it. I think the Machi loss was the biggest problem. Yo.
Absolutely. I think that the TL versus G2 esports matchup that happened, it was like two different games, right? The first one we saw TL performing at a peak performance. The next week, G2, there wasn't anything that Team Liquid could have done. It looked like Yankos was top lane and bot lane at the same time. There were no leads that were going anywhere. It looked like Team Liquid was just getting curb stomped by G2 the entire game. It wasn't a great showing. It's whatever, all right? Them losing to Machi the first time really did screw the pooch. They shouldn't have lost to them in the first week. The second week, they were able to prove that, yeah, we can beat them. And because of that, they just didn't get a fighting chance anymore in the groups. That's the unfortunate part. Oh.
Team Liquid, Lol W. That's all my analysis.
Everyone's focusing on Broxa for this team, and I'm just sitting here looking at Jensen and thinking of all the times he's just not been good enough. In NA alone, he's not been good enough so many times, and the only time, what,
over his career or like with this team this split?
Over his career, because like the only time he's been able to win is when he joined TL after having win 2 back-to-back splits. And now they just keep winning because nobody else has enough players to keep up with them, because they have top 3 players in every position. And even if they have Jensen, who really seems to choke under pressure in big moments, they were able to close it out with Double Lift, Impact, Xmithy, and Core JJ. So it's like, I don't know. I feel like Jensen's actually the problem with this team and not Broxa, like everyone seems to think.
I'd have to agree. Only because his week 1 performance, losing to Mission, put TL behind, and leading into week 2, it just didn't really have stand-up performances. Tactical,
Also,
I think
Lulu
I
top sucks.
love Lulu top sucks. Lulu Top is good in
Top bangs.
specific hands. There's only certain players here who can acceptably play Lulu Top.
So when you
not
say
Impact.
certain players here, do you mean in NA or in this call or where? Like,
Within the world's performance, there are certain players who have proven that they can play Lulu Top and that they can play it effectively. Impact is not that player. Impact is not that player. Don't just have him bring it off rip, all right? I would have preferred a Singed.
I mean, Lulu doesn't
Honestly,
even
yeah.
seem like. When I think Impact, I'm not thinking like Lulu Top, dude. Like that's not even like top 5 things I'm thinking of when I'm thinking of Impact picks. It was very peculiar to me.
It was something that they kind of pulled off rip. It's something that appeared in the tournament, and it's something that they wanted to adapt to. It was, however, there's some things that are meta that will appear that you just can't use because you just don't have the practice on it. Impact's great on tanks. Love his Mordekaiser. Love most of his other champions. I'd even take his Ornn. Actually, I would definitely take his Ornn. But Lulu Top, that's not it. We go as deep as Singed, not Lulu.
I'm honestly surprised that some top laners aren't trying to like pocket pick stupid shit. Because I feel like you can make that work and just absolutely shatter the enemy team comp with something like Singed. Like, what the fuck are you gonna do if Singed gets off the ground and starts proxying in your base? You're just gonna have to give up Drakes. And that, honestly, if my top laner goes up 40 CS on 2 laners and gets Drake, hell yeah, let's do it.
I mean, yes, but also no, because a lot of people are very focused on the early game here. You're going to be relying on that Cinch to get some sort of early lead, and you're also going to be relying on all the other teams to be like,
Nexus, bro, easy.
Level 1 in base. It's not a grief, it's a strat.
Somebody's never been proxied by Cinch and just sat there while your jungler sits on red buff doing nothing.
Yeah, the problem is the fucking world's jungler's probably not going to sit there and do nothing.
Yep.
Stop poking holes in my plan.
Okay, all right.
You guys are probably just going to dive. Right. Maybe you bring the mid laners so and then Singed dies 50 times. Or you try to dive Singed and it's Dyrus and he spams laugh.
Why you gotta go all the way to Dyrus?
Because that's I just love... Wasn't he on Dyrus when he spammed laugh when he got dove on Singed or something? I remember he got like in trouble. I don't know.
Okay. Oh man, all of my memories are at Dyrus dying. Anyhow,
I was talking about when he lived, bro.
Let's talk about G2 and Sunning real quick before we move on to the next group. I feel like G2's been playing a lot more standard, and they haven't been pulling out too many wacky picks. But at the same time, they haven't been able to do those absolutely stupid macro plays that they would just pull out of nowhere and just end up winning the game with, because for some reason it's not working. But they, in their last game versus Sunning, they lost to Ignite Camille. Do you know how bad you have to be to lose to Camille without Flash?
Oh, I forgot that it was... Dude, in my head, I was like, yeah, well, it was Flash Ignite. And then I remembered I had blocked it from my memory that it was the flashless Camille. Why would you remind me?
Because I don't know why you're not killing it with your Graves and your Renekton. Just fucking kill her over and over again.
Well, she's got her E that I think is the wall jump. That's basically a flash.
Sure thing.
I wasn't being serious. Haymant did not notice this.
Haymant doesn't remember this.
I'm looking at it now.
My guy is like, no, I must need glasses because I'm seeing a red fireball where a yellow jump should be. But Monty, I got news for you. It's not your eyes. You can take the glasses off. You can back up from the camera. They just ran it. They just gassed.
Wow. All right. Sunning goes. Okay. I mean, SOFM pulled out the Jarvan that game, and he's also the one who pulled out Tank Lee Sin again. So go dumb, stupid, and goofy. They're
Tank
able to
Lee
do
Sin
it.
is his thing, though. That's like how he plays Lee Sin. He doesn't play him to
it's
initiate
also not
make
like
kills. He plays as
it's
protector.
also not dog shit. To be fair,
that bad. It's a good fallback.
I want you to say it's terrible if you can't make the plays, but this is
No.
a player who actually
no.
can do.
No, but you
Lee
don't need to
Sin-
make
but
the
even-
plays with it.
But Haymont, Bruiser and Assassin Lee Sin are also really, really bad if you can't make the plays, and then you don't even have a front line. Like, then you just have a dude who's dying in 2 hits getting nothing done.
I think this build has a lower top end, but a much more consistent average.
Mm-hmm.
So it's much more useful, to be honest, if you just play a raw supportive tank jungler and play around your AD carry and top lane. Instead of trying to be assassin or heavy dive Lee Sin. You can just play mid-range Lee Sin, hover between the enemy team and your carries, and then just fall back to your carries if there's no opening and you get engaged on.
Survives a lot longer.
Yeah. It also lets your AD carry survive a lot longer because of Knight's Vow. I honestly like it a lot more. I need to get Dion to play this instead of whatever crazy.
Dion is not going to play that. You
Dion won't play that.
You absolutely know he is not going to do that. My man won't pick Sejuani when Sejuani is like the most meta pick. He's not.
Sejuani. That's how we won.
Sometimes he picks it, but he doesn't like it.
No. Okay, moving on. The G2 and Sunning games have been wonderful to watch the entire Group A. Even if I didn't notice at first that Ignite
Have they?
was on that top
Because this
lane
last
from you.
game was a 23-minute stomp for Sunning.
The last game, I believe in the tiebreaker, where they were going for first.
Yeah, but the tiebreaker was even worse.
The tiebreaker was like, oh, G2's got a lead, G2's got a lead, G2's got a lead. Oh, Gangplank hit a barrel. We won the game off of that. That was hyped for me.
The tiebreaker was G2 just trying to pull something out of nothing and getting destroyed. They didn't have a gold lead from 12 minutes. From 12 minutes on, it's all Sunning's gold lead. And they didn't fall below a 3k gold lead from 16 minutes.
Ah, yes. But then in the mid-game, it looked like G2 was actually ahead at one point, having that giant stacked Scion, and actually being able to team fight. They even had the Elder position, and then all of a sudden, just been out of nowhere, hit a barrel right there on 3 people to end the game. That was phenomenal.
There is a small controversy around that play. The place where they're standing is exactly where a blast cone spawns. There's currently a bug with Umbral Glaive where if you proc Umbral Glaive and then kill a plant, it will infinitely despawn the plant. The plant will not come back.
Huh.
Oh,
so that bug affected that blast cone. Now, it is questionable whether or not somebody would have cleared that blast cone before that fight or not, but it does mean that that game is theoretically questionable. I still think Gangplank blows the fuck out of them, though. There ain't no way Gangplank doesn't kill 2 people there. That just happens.
But maybe another person makes it out.
So we have to replay the whole fucking group.
Whole world's redo it.
We
Wipe
have to
it
also,
up.
but we
Restart.
also, wait. We also, if we're doing that, we have to also redo the fucking LCS finals and semis, and make sure the right teams go this.
No.
time,
We're helping TSM, not Cloud9. Sit down.
Why not both? Why not help both?
Because we can't help both if we don't go back to the beginning.
Help both and hurt FlyQuest easy. We win, Haymont loses, the best of all possible world.
What do you mean?
Oh, no.
You're acting like TL's gonna make it over Fly.
Yes.
In that replay.
Anyway.
Lack of faith.
Yes, quite literally, yes. Anyway.
Okay.
I'm done talking about this. This possible future.
Which means on to Group B, perhaps?
Yes, on to Group B. Hold on.
This
okay, Group B, you
also...
got PSG, you got Damwon, you got Rogue, and you got JD Gaming. Why are they called JD Gaming?
I have absolutely no clue. But I do have to say, I also enjoyed the Group B games as well. There's a lot of fun shenanigans going on. First of all, PSG Talon, even though they did have to sub in their mid and jungle, and, they've been subbing in a lot of players, they only got a 2-4 scoreline. but they really were resilient during most of their games. It's just that they didn't seem to have a knowledge of how to make macro decisions. That's really the end that they really lost out on. Even in fights where there was skirmishing throughout their games, they would all just lose a tower on the other side because they weren't managing waves properly and someone was split pushing, right? But honestly, I'm still very happy with how they performed. They were able to take it 1-for-1. I was even able to see, I believe there was one time their mid laner Tank had solo killed JD Gaming's mid laner. I'm blanking on his name right now, right? But
Yo, Yagao.
Yagao, yep,
Oh
still
my
a
god.
pleasant surprise.
Watching Yagao play Zoe, it terrified me. That dude was just like scripting. I have no idea how he landed all of that bullshit, but he landed it and killed like 4 people by himself. Oh my
Okay,
god, was that disgusting.
I'm sorry, I misremembered who he was facing against. It was actually Tank in the Damwon Gaming game. He had solo killed Showmaker early on in the match. I'm sorry about that one. To take the wind out of your sails right there, Anthony. But also, yeah, your gal's also crazy.
Oh. I I guess watching JDG and Damwon was actually pretty entertaining, but I don't know. I think PSG really let me down because they had to swap out those 2 players. But
Mhm.
uh I I wanted more from Rogue and PSG, and they just really didn't give it to me.
Do you, I think Rogue gave me everything that I wanted.
I I just can't fucking believe PSG beat JD Gaming. Like what the
Here,
hell? Why does this
it,
happen?
because the PSG is still resilient, and I do love them for it. But more importantly, I do want to go over the moments that Rogue gave me, because there was a wonderful time when my Captain Flowers had been watching after a team fight that happened between Rogue and JD Gaming. Made a note of exactly 36 damage that was done by Oriana. Larson's Oriana in the middle of the game, and when she went, "What? Where did that come from? That's not even 70 damage. That's not an auto attack." In which 5 minutes later, Kobe just chimed in afterwards saying, "Oh, I think I found your problem. That's an ardent sensor on the Oriana
That's what I
mid
thought.
lane." That's why he did so little. Oh, it was a great back
Right,
and
but
forth. I
hang on, he
That's
should still
insane.
do more than 36 damage.
Yeah, that should actually be more than that.
I don't. That has to be a bug because there's no ability he has that will do that little damage unless he only hit the tank with the swing back.
perhaps this was
That's
in a
the
fight, and
only world in which that happens.
that might make sense because this was literally he got eliminated right at the beginning of that fight. That
I, I
so it's
still doubt it.
believable.
I still doubt he gets eliminated like that and only does 36 damage.
36 damage is a very, very small amount of damage, Haymant. I think you know this.
Like
I
Like,
do know
that is
this.
I
That's
had
what the
Sunfire
most
on you
pot of.
for a tick.
And
That
this
is
is
like
like
1 tick of Sunfire. Like
mid
no way.
late game. This was like a mid late game Oriana.
there has to have been something wrong there
I
because
think
that's like
I think the time track was off. I think like the duration of where they triggered the beginning and end of the damage tracking, that was probably different.
Still noting the ardent sensor on the Oriana mid. Great time.
Yeah, I don't understand the Oriana support build. I don't
It
get
was
it.
yeah.
let's get Ben to try it. Enable the shit out of you.
No.
Lulu top, me on Thresh, Ben on support Ori. The game is in your hands. Pick Dion Kindred. We're carrying.
The reason why they were just like, all right, we're gonna give Han Sama all of the attention in this game and give him the ardent sensor, and that's not.
Wasn't he
Don't.
playing Senna?
He was playing Callista.
Callista?
That makes more sense.
Okay.
Yes, the on hit 80 carry. So yeah, it makes more
Callista's
sense.
not an on-hit 80 carry.
That's true.
Damn,
I don't think her
I need to
passive
reassess.
procs with Rage Blade.
Okay.
Okay, here it is. Oh god, you went tier. where did that damage come from?
Oh, you found the exact moment?
I found the game, but I'm just looking at everything. Yeah, there's no way he only did 36 damage. He did 11k that entire game. Or sorry, 14k that entire game. No way. Absolutely no
And
way.
37 of that was in one instant.
Yeah. So, I don't totally disagree with this build, but he is their only form of AP damage. Because their other magic damage source is Ornn. Guess who doesn't deal good amounts of magic damage?
Hmm.
Ornn.
I don't know. This feels like a leading question.
It is. I already answered it. Orianna still dealt more damage than Ornn did that game. So it's like, I don't know. I don't like it when people don't fucking properly spec their team comps. Because it's so easy. It's so simple to properly spec a team comp in terms of damage tank and damage type. Like, it's so simple. But for some reason, like, if you had taken Eve in the jungle or Elise in the jungle, or who else is AP and good in the jungle right now? I don't know. Or you take your tank in the jungle and you put like, someone else top. No. Lilia. Yeah, you could have picked Lilia, but I think
AP
she was not banned. They could have gone with Lilia in the jungle
Cleanse,
and then played
Ghost, New.
Because they have Pantheon support, so in theory, you have enough AD with Pantheon support and Kalista. But to be honest, running Kalista with Pantheon support just seems bad. I hate that. Like, the whole point of Pantheon is that he dives in, picks a target, and kills them. But if you're pulling him back out, he doesn't get to do all of his damage. And he doesn't get to use his E to block follow-up. I don't know, I question this whole team comp and their decision-making around it. Like, I don't think the Orianna build was bad if they had built their team comp better. But they just didn't.
I will say, they did have a lead most of that game. They just fumbled it in the mid game.
They had a lead until 14 minutes. The lead was 600 gold.
It was... I was actually enjoying how they were putting down JD's jungler.
Haymant, I really don't know why you thought they had a lead that game. They didn't get a tower until... Where the fuck did it... Yeah, until 14... after 14 minutes.
See, the thing was that they had stolen Kanavi's red, and then Kanavi had tried to make an invade onto Rogue's bottom side to go steal their red, in which Vander had been there on time and went 1-for-1. And that was hype. And I enjoyed that bit of it. But they never were really able to make like good macro decisions or like push their lead enough to actually make it matter, which was the unfortunate part. But the early game, like right in those like first 3 minutes, it was great. Also, the Silas was punished on his first game. So, not getting away with that jungle pick.
Alright, so the teams that made it out of here are Damwon and JD Gaming. I think everyone is basically terrified of Damwon walking out of this group because Damwon looked fucking crazy. Damwon were demolishing people. I think the only team in this group that made them sweat even a little bit was JD Gaming. And they did manage to take one game off of them. Wait, did that trigger a tiebreaker? No. Why didn't that trigger a tiebreaker?
I didn't. Which one triggered
JD. Oh, JD lost another game to PSG. That's why. So that's. So those are the teams that got out of this group. What do we think about Damwon?
Their entire roster actually looks very solid. Ghost and Barrel, you've seen them perform. Showmaker, he can also play stable mid laners, but has those assassins in his back pocket. Canyon's been really smart about his jungling. He was the first one who exposed that JD Gaming's Kanavi, who was the hype jungler that was coming into this group's, or for JD Gaming, that he can be put behind very far in the early game. And Nuggery, of course, brought out those interesting Lulu picks. I believe he also... Oh, no. I may have it wrong. Was it Nuggery or was it Doran who brought out the cannons? I believe it was Doran who brought out the cannons. I might be wrong about that. You can check beyond that one. But he's a very stable top laner.
So I've been to me, Canyon has been a big standout for this team. He seems to be, I don't know, like their best player and is just absolutely dominating his opponents most of the time. Like even in the matchup against JDG where they lost, he just looks so strong, and it looks like he has a really good grasp on the jungle meta at the moment. Let me check his gold graph real quick by comparison to Lilia's in that game. And he's almost always ahead of Lilia, even though his team is behind. There's like a few small instances where Lilia's ahead, but he got right back ahead, even to the end of the game after they lose. Like that's amazing to me that he was able to do that. He also built the Zonyas. He didn't build the Zonyas. He was fucking around with his items at the end so he didn't die.
Oh, man. But yeah, I'd agree. Canyon's really the standout performer on this team.
Matt, what do you think about Dem1 Gaming?
I think that they're scary as shit. They play very, very well. And I mean, like, I don't know. Maybe it's just because I'm intimidated by their alpha play, but I don't really remember a huge amount of, like, or even like a medium amount of like micro or macro game mistakes, right? Probably a bunch of micro game because people just fuck up sometimes. But like in terms of their macro, they seem like fairly solid. Like all the time, they know what they're doing. They have good drafts, and they just fucking roll people. So like that's hard to deal with because you just have to beat them by being better than them, and it doesn't look like there are too many people who are better than them at the moment.
Oh no, it does not. All right, let's move on to talking about Group C. We got Fnatic, LGD. I can't work.
Bro, are you okay?
No, I'm dyslexic.
No, he's getting a little choked up. That's what's happening.
Senji and TSM.
Let's go. You want to start, Anthony? You want to start from the bottom to the top on this one?
Yeah, I think LGD actually really overperformed walking into this group. Coming out of play-ins, I think everyone kind of expected them to really shit the bed, but they kind of showed that they I don't know what the fuck they were doing during play-ins. Like honestly, no fucking clue. But they showed that the play-ins wasn't really indicative of their actual performance or skill level, and I think that was pretty good for them. But they still didn't make it out of this group, and I still kind of question some of their decision making along the way.
What about the other team that didn't make it out?
What happened to that one?
Haymant, what do you think about LGD?
No. Sorry, Anthony. I think you're skipping an important part of the
Haymant,
show.
what do you think about LGD?
I think that they did pretty well, and now I'm going to talk about the other team.
I think
that
they're
didn't
better
make it
than
out.
TSM. I don't know, Anthony. What do you think?
What do you think about that?
Oh, what?
What happened?
Oh, as soon as they go 06, as soon as they go 06, my man forgets the name of his team. A fake ass fan out here, bro. Oh no, dude.
This is the opposite of the
Anyway,
bandwagon.
why don't you just talk, and then hopefully you and I talking about how bad they did will at some point enrage him enough to join us.
Okay. We're not going to talk about them in their losses because those were just bad. What we're going to talk about is yes, actually,
we're going to talk about their wins.
Let me correct that. Let's not talk about the ones where they were losing in the early game because they were all losses. I'm sorry that I misspoke on that.
That one is a roast. Anthony, this is the sleeper strat of being an NA fan. If your team doesn't get to Worlds and you're on this podcast, you don't have to have this talk of shame twice. Only one time.
It doesn't happen the second time. And
because they never got there.
In the first place. And what is it? They brought out the Zilean twice. In the first week against Gen G, didn't have that much impact. They brought it out the second time, I believe it was against Fnatic, and honestly, on this day, it looked like just watching the first game, they were asleep and they slowly woke up, and it never amounted to anything anyway.
It's surprising though, because Zilean is like consistently one of his best picks. Like he's truly actually crazy at Zilean, and so to have him pull out the Zilean and have it not feel especially impactful, it's like, well, dang, what happened? Are these teams just like leveled up? Are these was it just like poor play in these couple of games? Like, because usually when I see that Zilean come out, I'm expecting like a pretty nutty performance on the whole.
Mm-hmm. It was the first week when it was brought out. It was against Gen G, and TSM had fully invested in bringing out Broken Blade and Spica doing the top side jungle, right? Really favoring that. And Gen G had done the opposite. Instead, they were letting Ruler farm up, making sure that he was safe, and letting him carry. And then when it turned out into the mid-game fights, we have this full investment in Broken Blade, and then we have this full investment in Ruler. It turns out investing in Ruler, world-class top lane, world-class bot laner, will definitely help you win games, and that's how Gen G managed to cinch the first one. Let me remember correctly. Who had he brought out the Zilean against in the second week? That's what I'm not recalling currently.
Orianna.
What?
Orianna.
He said it twice, bro.
I'm sorry.
Looking at the matches.
Orianna, the ball champion, the shield, the sombrero ults. Come on, you know this.
What? He brought out, let me see. The first one was Galio. The next one was Lucian. So the last game of the day was definitely the Zilean.
He played it against LGD GA.
Mm-hmm.
GA was playing Orianna.
And if I remember correctly, GA also solo killed him in lane.
I don't know,
so
I didn't watch
not a good
XD, by the way.
What was it? The second game? There was even one game where they were fighting against Fnatic, where they were fighting against LGD, and there was a Baron call that was going on. Broken Blade TP'd in, and everyone except Spica turned on to LGD. LGD kited it out, and then of course they go back to the Baron. And guess what happened? Spica had to smite early because he was the only one tanking Baron, and literally LGD Kramer just walked up and autoed it.
Here's my
and that
question.
was in the mid game. Mm-hmm.
Wasn't there one game where they Spica got like an insane slumber off and everybody just trolled?
Same game. It was against LGD. Yeah.
And like I actually I didn't watch this one, but I remember people talking about it at our Clash game. Did they just because I actually didn't watch this individual game. Did they literally just he hit like a huge sleep and then the team just decided they weren't gonna fight, or like what was the vibe? Like what happened?
They would have had to blow a lot of mobility to get close enough to land it after he lands asleep. They're basically by red side Raptors where they all fall asleep, and TSM's over by
maybe the second tier fallen turret by LGD's side.
They're running behind that hump right next to that turret. They're like kiting back to there, and then he lands the sleep. So they would have had to cross over and burn everything to get them. They're on the ramp, not by the Raptors. Also, yeah, it was against Gen G.
It was against Gen G?
Yes.
Okay.
They were winning that game.
So Anthony, are you ready to talk about TSM yet?
No.
Are you gonna be?
No. See, I'm actually
wait, hold on. Here's the thing.
No. Let me say one thing. I'm actually in my comfort zone. I'm used to this. This is where I like to be. This is how the world should be.
This is how the world should be. TSM going 0-6 in groups while Anthony secretly
they didn't make it out of groups. We're going 3-3. What's the difference?
Okay.
Fair play,
Uh,
actually. Here's my thing, Anthony, is I actually kind of don't care if you're ready, because at some point you're going to have to talk about it, ready or not, and that time is now. Why don't you deep dive what you think went wrong
All right.
in this week for your...
Let's talk about Group D. Something actually
Did we
astounding about.
skip C?
Oh, we were. That was Group C.
that was C.
Yeah,
It
but
was all
Anthony hasn't talked
TSM.
about it yet, so I'm
All
just
right,
confused.
so we're gonna talk about
because-
Group D now. Something miraculous has happened here. We all got
can
Group
I say one
D
thing about
correct.
Genji?
Sure.
Genji's gonna win Worlds. Fuck
Genji?
top esport. No,
Genji?
Genji. Yeah, Genji, the
Yeah.
the Overwatch hero, is gonna win Worlds solo hero class, obviously. Anyway, Group D or whatever, because you're scared.
Now,
right.
if I have this correct, we all got this group perfect.
I think we actually did, which is crazy.
Wow.
I think Haymont got 2 groups perfect. He got Group B and Group D perfect.
Insane. Haymont, coin flips coming through again in the clutch.
Woo.
The coin flip legend.
Oh,
All right.
man.
So, in this group we got Top, DRX, FlyQuest, and UOL. Actually, in that order.
Mhm.
So, how are we feeling about UOL's performance?
That's another 06. How'd you feel about TSM's performance?
I asked about UOL.
Yep, it's the same deal.
UOL did not perform very well.
No, you're right. TSM looked competitive some games. UOL did not have that same
Not
feel.
competitive enough.
No. Yep, even in the 06. All right. It wasn't. There was sometimes I watched the boss beat solo, and that was a fun time. But afterwards, 06.
Yeah, UOL didn't really impress me. They looked pretty good in play-ins. Like, they definitely seem like to be a borderline region at the moment, or at least the team is. And I think in future, if they can keep up this kind of consistent performance and even start to make a little bit of headway out of groups, they can probably start fighting Vietnam for that, like, 5th major region spot. But right now, I definitely don't think they're able to contend for that, but they're definitely the best minor region that there is.
I think that's probably true.
Okay. I only watched one FlyQuest game in the second week.
Really?
Yeah.
It was not the TES one, right?
It was the top esports one, yeah.
My man pick and chose wisely.
I had to understand why they won that one, and then I did. It's because
I still
Mark
don't understand why they won that one.
played Lux. And you see, the thing was that Ignar has a blitzcrank. And
Yeah,
apparently this was something that Top was not prepared for.
But it doesn't make any goddamn sense!
You see, the thing is that Mark was like, oh, I'm in front of a turret throwing out abilities. There's nothing that this blitzcrank can do. Which Ignar replied, ho ho ho.
Here's what I'm gonna blame this one on. It's several different flaws in this game plan. Caitlyn doesn't have cleanse. Lux support. She also had to bum rush Mikhail's because Caitlyn doesn't have cleanse. Galio mid lane, second item Zhonya's. Graves, first items Banshee's Veil AD. And then Urgot takes Spellbook and never builds a Death Stance. How do you win this game when your AD carry is a sitting duck for 80% of the time?
You see, the thing was that you really can't. You saw it affected throughout the entire gameplay. Like, there were moments where Caitlyn just couldn't walk up to go farm because there might be like a blitzcrank or something else there hiding in a bush. And it was just tragic because your best player, Jackie Love, just has to sit back and stand as far away from anything, like any CS that he could get, until it actually comes to him underneath the turret or is hand delivered to him, right? Because otherwise, all of a sudden there's a Blitzcrank queue out of the bush. Yeah, woo, great, nah.
The thing is that PoE almost Flame Horizon Knight. He's at 308 CS. Knight had 211.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really hard to say that Jackie Love was their like biggest deficit when the mid lane had just as big a deficit on a champion who's supposed to be an enabler. He's supposed to be able to protect his team and like make good engages, but they don't have anyone to engage him with.
Mm-hmm.
So as much as zoning Jackie Love off a wave is kind of impactful, Jackie Love ended up farm in this game. So it's hard for me to say that was the deciding factor. Especially when there's so many other like inconsistencies with their players. Like even Karsa didn't seem to have a strong lead over Lilia, even though he's playing a champion that people seem to think counters Lilia.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, that's just my take on Jackie Love. I think Jackie Love is a problem because of the team composition, not because of Jackie Love and his gameplay.
I think that's
I
probably
agree.
true.
Also, it would be as soon as JDD Gaming can really contest objectives as well, because there's too many places where a Blitzcrank could be as well. There was one time where the highlight play of the match where Ignar, literally on the last tick of his red sweeper around the dragon, saw an Urgot and pulled him over the wall, and that clutched them another one. And
wait, he almost died doing that.
He almost died doing it, but he didn't. And if he died doing it, he just lost a Blitzcrank. It's done its job. It's done its job.
Well, the thing is they lost Blitzcrank. Asher's gonna die.
Also, Blitz's job is not to die. Like
his job is to pull Squishy.
Yeah, and he needs to be alive to do that. Like, if I'm in the start of a team fight as a support and I'm like, unless I die because I pulled their fucking like 20 kill AD carry and like the team engaged on me, then I feel like fine, whatever. But unless like I die in that scenario, or if I like hit a hook or don't hit a hook yet and I die, then I don't think I've done my job as a Blitzcrank. Because I can't do my job as Blitzcrank, I'm dead. So I think that read might be a bit off, Monty, but that's my view. What do I know? I'm just the Clash support. No, I'm kidding.
Also, what is it? Wild Turtle actually had a lead that game because of, Blitzcrank.
And because Wild Turtle is Wild Turtle.
I feel like there was still...
What?
You fucking wish, bro.
No.
I know, right?
No.
I want to go back to those days.
How's the old bot lane treating you on the new roster?
Oh, man.
You got what you wanted back one time. How'd that go?
Missing two pieces.
Not fair enough, actually.
There's maybe only like one slight complaint I have about FlyQuest, which was, besides the first week, which Solo was kind of going ham and then putting his team in a deficit and then coming back. It's that sometimes it feels like they don't Turtle's either still slightly out of position or they don't know how to position around Turtle. It's probably that they don't know how to position around Turtle. Because in some of their losses, you'll see the front line straight in front of him, and then he'll die because there's an Akali that's behind him, which is maybe not necessarily the team's fault, but also like something that has to be adjusted.
Well, the problem is that you're only running two frontliners, so if you want to have a strong front line, they both need to be in the front. That means you're open to a flank in the back. If the game plan was to have three tanks in it, you could have one Peel Fury AD carry stand on them, and then two be the front line. But that's just not how the meta is right now. In fact, the meta is leaning more towards one frontliner, and then one like bruisery kind of frontliner. That isn't actually a frontliner.
Yeah, but this has kind of been consistently happening, which has been irking me a little bit. Even in the game in which they beat Top Esports, there was a couple Dragon contests where Karsa was able to get to and kill Wild Turtle. Actually, I think that only happened once. I might be misremembering that. But it was still a problem that I see with FlyQuest that I would like them to address.
All right. We got to start moving because we're 45 minutes into the show and we're not even halfway through our topics. Let's talk about top and DRX before we move on to talking about the Fixing NA Part 5.
The 5th installment, buddy. We're gonna go for the double three-peat. Looking like Star Wars out here.
Let's start with DRX. I don't have high hopes for DRX. They definitely look competitive, and I think that they can. I think they can definitely show up against who are they playing? Damn one. Actually, never mind. They can't show up against Damn one. I know. I think they'll definitely be a little bit competitive. I think they're one of the better teams at the tournament, but I think they playing against Damn one's kind of going to screw them. They're showing here show that they can beat like worse teams than them, but they just can't beat top. It's just like if they can't beat top, I don't think they're gonna win this tournament. Damn one.
Yeah, that's fair. Outside of our future finals match, who can beat? But I think DRX is probably gonna. I mean, I think it's possible in a technical sense of the word that they beat Damn one, but I'm not extremely confident. I think it would. I think it will probably be a good game, though. I don't think it's gonna be like an absurd stomp. But
I think Damn one are gonna really run right through them. We'll see when we get to that part. But there we are. All right. So, anyone else got anything to say about DRX?
No.
I'd still like Doran. I'm a little shaky on Keria. He has his moments, and then he also has other moments that are not as good. Yoshik, he's good. That's about it. Trophy's still a beast in the mid lane.
He's good. That's about it. God damn. Disrespectful.
All right.
Unfortunately, not as memorable.
I think I'm looking forward to seeing top in the knockout stage. I think they're gonna just start clobbering people. I think they have only begun to show us what they can do. I feel like their ceiling is much higher. What do you guys think?
I completely agree. I think they're probably going to get to finals, except unless it's like a crazy upset or it turns out it's not that the ceiling is higher, but the floor is lower. But that's unexpected, you know, so.
Hey, Fnatic might get the best of them. You don't know. All right. On to Fixing North America. How do I hide these? There we go. All right. So, North America has failed to get a team out of groups for the second year in a row. Now, what is the problem, and why is it not ping?
I think it's ping.
Oh, everyone loves to poke at ping. I don't get it. Like, why do people think the ping is the deciding factor here? Like, really? You think that because Korea has lower ping, they're just better than us? That doesn't make any goddamn sense. The teams practice 6 to 9 games a day on a low ping environment, just like Korea. I don't understand why that has anything to do with their on-stage performance. And it doesn't make sense to say it's the best of one's format either, because that doesn't affect their practice schedule. They would have a similar scale of practice to Korean or Chinese or European teams. So, like what can it be besides that? Haymant,
I have no idea.
I would actually be pretty stumped about how to fix this as well. And I guess in its longevity, I think putting in actual new people.
Actual new people?
You see, the problem is that this won't actually fix anything in the short term, but if we were to get actually able to
fix anything in the long term? If we just introduce new people for the sake of introducing new people, we're not going to find
I think he
players.
means introduce new, better people.
Yes, or at least try to promote
Korea.
How?
Well, you just make what we did with Oceania. We make NA or Korean players an extension of NA, and then we just get teams that are exclusively Korean, and then we can compete.
Yeah. Let's bring back Alliance. Let's run those guys back. Come on.
5 fucking head, Anthony. 5 fucking head.
That was Evil Geniuses. Just saying.
but at least using a method similar to what 100 Thieves is doing. I believe there's still a couple other squads that do have B teams as well. I believe TSM
I mean,
has 3
TSM
squads.
does that. Yeah, TSM has 3 tiers of squads that I know of.
Mm-hmm.
C9, I know very seriously looks at their B squad as a farm. I don't know if they have a third string after that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the third string is like a requirement for this, though. I think even having the
Well,
second string
yeah.
is.
No, I think the third stream is a requirement because it shows that you're willing to go above and beyond what the league requires. Because having a second team is required by the league.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I
And
think if you do what C9 does with a second team, I don't think it necessitates another one, right? Because like I think what C9's doing is better than it. Obviously, I don't think I'm not saying you disagree with this. Better than a team who treats the second string like literally a joke, doesn't take it seriously or play. That was bad, but like I don't know, because like I don't think you need to go above and beyond the second string, because it's like who's coming out of the TSM third string to get the and what is it getting them, right? Is it getting them 06 at Worlds? Because like then what, like, is the third string that worth it?
I
Like, yeah,
mean,
you got to
Who
Worlds, but
came out
like,
of 100 Thieves third string this year?
I have
it
no
was
idea.
their support, and I believe Ken V's going up to their B squad. I'm trying to remember the name of the supporter right now.
I'm trying to look at their roster. Was it Potluck?
Poon.
Poom. It's Poom. I
Poon.
think
Not
Poom.
who did Potluck play for?
Immortals.
Immortals. Oh, Immortals gotta blow that goddamn roster. I'm just
But I
remembering how
also think
bad that was.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but that's not. This
All
is
right.
not the. We've already talked about
Yeah,
that.
I've already pulled the plunger on that one.
Ripcord hours, boys.
Okay.
I think that adding a third string team doesn't hurt,
No, I
especially
don't
since
think it
there's like
hurts,
an.
but I don't think it's a requirement to be like serious.
I mean, yes, but there's also amateur league tournaments that do happen at that level. It would be nice if there was still a competitive scene with more people who are able to participate in it. At least if we have. Mm-hmm.
The amateur league has been like steadily growing, like even just people's general interest in it. But I think what I think the key to like fixing NA, it has nothing to do with our own our own amateur scene, our own farm leagues. I think it has to do with us like embracing the idea that we are not going to find 5 players that can be top of top of the world in North America. We might find 1. We might find 2 that can be on the roster from North America. But we're going to have to find players from Chinese solo queue, from Korean solo queue. Bring them over when they're still younger than 17 before they're eligible to play in the LCS and begin training them in the NA atmosphere and to be NA players before that. Now, I'm pretty sure if we do that, we would they'd still have residency in Korea, so we'd run into issues there. But I think like you have to find these players before Korean or Chinese teams do, because
Yeah, I
China
think
has
that's
more
probably
money, and Korea people just if they were actually if players have reached the point where they can be very serious about going for world titles, they're gonna go to Korea if they're Korean. Like that's just a fact.
Or maybe China now, but
Maybe I don't know. China's
I
still a
guess
bit of a money farm for a lot of imports.
it's fair.
Like I think there are 7 out of 8 of the Chinese import slots filled, but I think only like 3 or 2 of them are Koreans. A lot of them are Taiwan or Vietnam.
What if we started making amateur leagues? Well, amateur teams in other countries. That's some
What would
weird
that get
drought to
us?
bring it
That
in.
doesn't solve anything. What does that do?
The only reason why would be only so that instead of them growing up in the environment within North America, that they would be in the competitive scene within.
Well, the point is to
participating.
acclimate them to North America, not to.
Yeah, so that when we need to get them onto the main roster, we're not like, cool, you've trained in this other country for like.
And now you're gonna go join the Brazilian rosters. Like I think the only place where that's viable is Australia, because they don't have a league to compete in, so technically TSM can make a team to compete there.
Yeah, I mean, I think that makes sense for them, but I think on the whole, it probably wouldn't be very fruitful.
The thing is who has the capital to support
No,
that?
sorry. Fruitful
No.
in this, I think what Monty is saying would be fruitful of making a bunch of amateur teams and other outside of just like the Oceania one. I meant.
the only reason why I would say that is because there has been a consistent complaint that perhaps within like North America that our practice is not as heavy as other people's, and that like the way that people compete in solo queue is not the same that you would arrive at in other countries as well. Right. So if you were to have them grow within that environment where they are actually competing at that level, then perhaps if they come back here, we'd have people who would have already been in that environment who already know what they're doing and at least keep up that work ethic. That's a very big conjecture, but it's still something that might happen.
Now
In my mind.
the other problem we're gonna have with getting people under 17 is it will interfere with their education, which is not something that it's not something that I really expect a lot of players to be able to like forego just to be esports pros. Like, the whole reason why you do these kind of long-ranging farm leagues is because you're basically digging for gold, and you're gonna find a lot of not things that aren't gold. So you're just that means that those players are maybe going to hit academy, maybe, but they probably won't hit LCS for the most part. Some of them will, but it's hard to be that confident. So, no one else has any other things that we can do to change NA? No arguments for changing back to best of threes. No blow up TSM's roster after they fucking won the split.
I obviously want best of threes back, right?
Yeah, it's so much more fun.
But like realistically, is that gonna like save us? Maybe it might help, but maybe not. Like it's hard to tell.
I don't know. I want a team which can consistently make macro plays at like a high level.
TSM did. Teams have done that in NA for years. The problem is that on an individual level they'll get outclassed, and their like tiny advantage isn't good enough.
No, like, it'll be weird where it'll be like, oh, like yes, we still have this talented roster, but then like there'll be like a slight communication that you wouldn't expect to see from like another team like Top Esports or something. Or there will be like a slight moment that's a little off that you wouldn't expect to see from some of these Worlds teams. And that's something that can't really be fixed by like just going, oh, we have these 5 top level pros from North America. That's something that has to be fixed by like going, oh, we have this one person these 3 people who are the core of our team who have these great macro making decisions at one time and know what they're doing. It's really hard to make that squad in North America, and it hasn't happened as yet.
So, here's my number one argument against all the people who say we need to just start making North American players like in the LCS, like just start fielding all NA teams. The last time that happened, it was Golden Guardians. And what happened was Golden Guardians got last place.
I mean, obviously, I don't think that's exactly what they mean, though, because, like, you know, typically they might mean, like, you know, some of the more top players from NA on a team. But
right, but who are those top players that are going to compete with Bjergsen, Impact, Jensen, Broxa?
No, I'm not
JJ.
saying. I was just saying that might have been a slightly unfair example, but yeah, I mean, I also don't think that that's the case. As in, I don't think it's the case that we ought to have all NA teams.
Well, it just I feel it could be great if we could have all NA teams if there were that many players available at that high a level. It'd be wonderful. I do think a good starting spot is to probably restrict imports in Academy. Like, I don't understand why we're bringing imported players into Academy. Like, it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It, like, if it's supposed to be for growing talent, and we're gonna bring people like, I don't know who was in there for a while. I don't. Someday was sitting in Academy just beating the fuck out of people. Like, what the hell? Someday was literally thrashing people by himself in Academy, and we're all just sitting here as if this is somehow okay. Someday should not be in Academy right now. I don't understand why he was ever in an Academy roster. That just shouldn't be allowed. It'd be better for the league if he wasn't in Academy and wasn't on a team. Like, it's just not good to have pros like that in Academy. If Darshan isn't of a caliber to be able to play on a starting roster, I don't know why he's in Academy either. Like, I understand the whole argument of having veterans in the game to help teach the newer players how to, like, do the system and, like, make the plays and follow the rotations and the lessons that you're learning. But there's a point at which you could just have someone standing next to them and doing that instead of having a player in the game doing that. Like, why can't you do that during scrims and then have on stage game days be a test for if they can do it by themselves? Because that's sort of the point. I've begun to disagree with the idea that you should have veterans on the team in the game to help them, because it seems to just be taking up a slot. But I know I used Darshan as an example, but I'm pretty sure Darshan himself is, like, trying to get back into the LCS, whereas I'm sure some of the players down there who have, well, back when Piglet was down there, I doubt Piglet really gave a shit where he was going so long as he was getting paid. Where's Piglet now?
I think he's just back in Korea chilling. I disagree. I think Piglet probably wanted to be on the starting roster, like, all of the time and thought he deserved to be there. But that's a different conundrum pertaining to Piglet.
Remember when Piglet and Hooney were on the same roster? That was a disaster.
Yep. Also, to the someday point, I believe that was when 100 Thieves was trying to figure out who their best mid laner was, whether they... I think they were trying to make Soligo and Someday work, and then I think also Levi was there. Yeah. And it was just an awkward situation, which is why Someday wound up in the league there. And I think it was Levi and Soligo who were playing instead on the 100 Thieves starting roster. Yeah. Too many slots spread too thin. But I think that at the academy level, I don't think there's anyone who can really compete with Someday. At least at that time.
Lane. Like, I think his closest competition was Kumo. And Kumo is now in the LCS.
Yep.
Was
Licorice? I don't remember if Licorice was there back in the day.
He was, but I think he started in the LCS before either just as Someday came into the league or before that.
Okay. All right.
It was after Impact went to TL. Licorice came up. So 2017-ish. No, 2018. 2018, I think, is when Licorice came into the LCS. And I think... Actually, wait. Someday he was in the league for 2 years before that. My bad. No, 1 year.
Okay.
1 year.
Either way, we're getting a little bit off topic now.
Are we?
We want to move on to our next one.
All right, let's talk about our predictions for the upcoming matches. We got TES versus Fnatic. We got Sunning versus JDG. We got Genji versus G2, or Gamers2 as I like to call them because it makes Ocelot cringe all the time. And we got Damwon Gaming versus DRX. So we are almost unanimous in our conclusions on who the winner will be. Sans me saying that JDG will beat out Sunning. Now, I think JDG are going to beat out Sunning in probably the closest series out of all of these series. I think this is going to be... That makes sense. This is the tightest matchup out of anything. But I just think that Sunning got to play against much weaker teams as compared to JDG. JDG had to contend with Damwon. And I think that if they had any other group, they would probably be out first, minus top. So... I'm just not sold on Sunning being strong enough to take down JDG or almost anybody here, to be honest. I think Sunning versus Fnatic and G2, I might favor those two instead. Haymont.
What do you think? All right. I did pick Sunning 3-2. The reason why is because JDG, while they are in the same league, I do think Sunning has really come into their own. Unfortunately, now I'm going to start doing that thing where I start talking about how the other team is probably going to beat them, because what happened is that in the games in which JDG has lost, Kanavi has been put behind, or it at least has been shown that he can be put behind pretty far in the early game. Um, the problem is that I'm not sure if Sunning is the team that would capitalize on that, if they would be the one who would be able to invade and actually put Kanavi behind, or if they would adapt their plans to do so. I'm hoping they get a bit of competitive spirit and attempt to do it as well. Even Rogue was able to follow that strategy, even though they weren't able to make the macro decisions to follow up on it. And if you really target that player, you could get a couple of games off of JD Gaming. And Sunning, I do think that they have a lot of talent. I believe their AD carry is pretty fresh, and I believe that they're just an underdog team that I really want to root for, and I believe they have the makings of being a good team. Their one weak spot might at the same time be one of their stronger points as well, which is their AD carry, which sometimes his positioning might be like slightly off, but otherwise, I'm really looking forward to a good series between these two teams.
Matt.
Sorry, I forgot I was pushed to talk for a sec. It'd be like that.
Mhm.
We're still talking about
Sunning
who?
JDG.
Sunning.
I want to make sure. Okay, good. I did not dissociate for 5 minutes. Only 5 seconds. I also think that this is a close game and picked Sunning mostly just because they were number one. LUL. But I do. I mean, I put it 3-2 because I do actually see this one going pretty fucking tight. And like, I think they're both good teams, and I kind of just like guessed TBH. But I wouldn't be like super surprised if either one wins this. Do like you, Anthony, expect this to be a pretty good, tight series.
I'm not saying good. I'm just saying it's gonna be the closest.
I'm saying
series.
it. Well, listen, I'm close. Close is sometimes better. It's not always fun to watch a game and be like, "Oh yeah, there's going to be 3 games and I know who's going to win them." So like,
all right. Let's talk about Top versus Fnatic and why Top is going to obliterate Fnatic like it's nobody's fucking business. Matt gives Fnatic 1 game. Why are you being a coward, Matt, and giving Fnatic 1 game? Why can't you Chad like me and Haymont
mostly
and
branding.
give him a 0? Branding
Is my brand at this point to never call it 3-0. No, it's because I don't expect Fnatic to completely roll over. I don't think they have a real chance at winning this series unless something goes like really right for them or really, really wrong for Top. I just think that it's probably not going to be a 3-0 because Fnatic isn't that bad comparatively. Like, they're not the worst. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Fnatic's may be like better than Fly and UOL too, and part of the dominance at Top was like
having Fly and UOL to beat up.
Yeah, right. Like obvious. Like I mean, you know, I don't think Fly is that bad, but I don't think that they're as good as Fnatic, and I think that we might see Top not necessarily struggle, but maybe start losing a game or two, or losing a couple more games just because of the caliber of competition.
Mm-hmm. I just think Fnatic is going to be absolutely obliterated. I don't think they beat Top in almost any aspect of their gameplay. I think Top is in for a really easy route to finals, looking at the teams they had to play. So I think they'll easily 3-0 any of these teams in their way, barring whoever they face in the finals.
And even maybe then.
Yeah, maybe.
I have to agree with Anthony. Roll for roll, if you compare each of the mid laners, like Knight versus Nemesis, I absolutely think that Knight is the better pick overall. If you think about Jackie Love versus Reckless, of course I'm going to go with Jackie Love. He's been super consistent, and he's a world-class top laner. He has won before. Mark versus Hylissang. Mark, I feel, is also very great on his playmakers when he's not playing Lux. Don't do that again. Karsa
hi,
and
Mark.
Do you not think Lux is a playmaker? Do you not think Luxalt can make plays?
It can
it's
try.
not that. I just also think that it's very susceptible to a Nautilus Blitzcrank and
Fair.
good Threshes.
Imagine
Who
playing a
know?
lane where Blitzcrank has 2 targets.
I'm good.
Mm-hmm. And I think the competitive role is just the jungle between Karsa and Selfmade. I think they're both about equal. I don't think one's particularly ahead of the other or behind the other. I think the only diversity is between the picks that they're willing to do. I think Selfmade's Evelyn is great and absolutely stunning. I think Karsa is just a fairly even on all of his picks. It's not as if you're going to take anything that's going to really surprise him. And that's just generally what I think about it. The top just comes ahead.
Okay. Let's talk about Genji versus G2 and why this is a RIP EU. Matt, you want to start
EU.
this one?
No, but I will. I think Genji's performed Genji. Fuck me, dude. I can't do this. I hate
You're
letters.
the
I don't like
Genji
words.
stand here. Get it right.
I don't like letters or words or sounds, bro. I'm quitting language.
I'm the dyslexic one in this group chat.
Yeah, and this isn't a problem about reading, it's a problem about speaking and pronunciation. Listen, I think Genji has been playing really, really well so far in the tournament. Of course, I think their group was not the easiest either, with one notable North American exception. And I think that every time I go to say it now, this team I think is going to be G2. G2 obviously a very good team, obviously is the potential to win it. But I just think that Gen G has been playing a more consistent, better, and sort of a lot of different levels, right? Personally, what do you think?
I think Genji.
Save me from fucking up every word in every one of those sentences.
I think Genji are just straight better than G2. I think G2 has some good qualities to their team, but I don't think they have enough to keep up with, like, I don't know, basically any of the Korean or the Chinese teams coming out here. I think they're probably the second worst team out of this top 8. There's no way that they go on. It is just that's it. It's there's no hope for EU after this. I think G2 are out of gas. I think they don't have anything else special, and anything else special they pull out is gonna suck. Haymont, what you think?
I think this is probably going to be determined by the first game of the series, and it really depends on which version of G2 shows up. I wouldn't be surprised if they were actually able to take a game off Genji. That's kind of expected. But if they show up in their first game and they actually look competitive, then I'm looking forward to it being a series that could be an upset. But if it just turns out to be a stomp in the first game, I don't imagine that they'd be able to continue going. That's just how I feel about them. Like historically, that's kind of what they've done this split. It's shown up in EU when they lost to Mad Lions and then proceeded to beat them afterwards. It's just their performance on the day when they show up to the series. I do think that Genji overall is still the better team because hands down, Ruler's always a stable carry. You'd have to make plans to put him behind. There's only been one time that I do remember where Fnatic just hard camped bot lane or got a lead bot lane, and you could see how heavily it affected Genji. But I don't think that Perks is really the AD carry that's going to make that go too badly. Maybe if Mickey X and Yankos can affect that lane, then Genji's going to struggle throughout the series. But like I said, if they execute on that in the first game, I'll be hopeful. If they don't execute on that, then it's just Genji favored.
All right. Let's move on talking about Damwon versus DRX. Now, you
Mhm.
two seem to think this is going to be a much closer series than I do.
By one game.
Haymont,
What do you mean much closer? It's a 1-game difference.
Haymont, why do you think this game is going to be a 3-2 versus a 3-1? Why do
um,
they have that much more of an edge?
I want to say one because I just want to see Doran show up. This is the team that's pulled out the Kennen. We did see him out in that insane flank in one of his games that happened in Group D. Don't ask me to pick out which one. I can't
Pick it
remember.
out. Can you pick it out, please?
Um,
Don't ask me to not ask you things.
it was clearly them versus C9. Anyhow,
Gag.
it's him versus Noguri. We're gonna see some interesting picks in the top lane. Then Noguri being the one who debuted the Lulu at Worlds. You know, it's just gonna be an exciting series. The only place that I can actually, I should say there might be a couple of places. The biggest discrepancy by far is probably going to be the jungle. I think even though Pioshik is a good jungler, I think that Clid, actually, let me correct that. I think that Canyon has just gapped most of the junglers that he's faced against. That's just a fact there. Like, it's not even knocking him, and that's kind of insane to see. Chovy and Showmaker, they're both great mid laners. They're practically equal. Some of them have Showmaker's a bit more favored towards the assassins. That's about it. And I think I favor Ghost and Barrel over Deft and Carrier. I think Carrier is a bit unstable and still a bit too rough and new.
All right.
Why do you think it's going to be a 3-1? A massive difference, of course, from a 3-2.
Oh,
A whole entire
I think
130-minute game.
I think DRX is going to barely win that game. I think they're going to either cheese it out with some crazy kind of backdoor thing or get one lucky team fight that goes their way in the mid game. I don't think they're going to win that game by raw control, but I think Damwon are going to win every single game they win by absolutely obliterating DRX. I don't think this is going to be all that close. I think I think this entire quarterfinals is going to be full of blowouts minus SN and JDG. Uh, and like this is just sort of exemplary of that. Like DRX should be a team that can take it to Damwon, and from what I've seen, I don't think they can do it. And I think that Damwon are like top going to just fly right through to finals without having much resistance, and it just won't even be hard. It'll be so unentertaining to me watching like the quarters and semis that it's gonna suck. I'm gonna hate watching these next 2 weeks.
It's fair enough.
But I'd love to be proven wrong, because I don't know, good League of Legends is hard to come by these days.
Oh, yes. Especially in
Oh,
our
absolutely.
Clash games.
Don't remind me. Don't remind me.
Especially in our Clash games.
Okay. Matt, what's your take on Damwon versus DRX before we close out the show?
Well, obviously, I think Damwon's a better team, but I don't think DRX is trash. I mean, in hindsight, that's kind of dumb because I just said that top might prove a little less good because of an easy group, and DRX basically benefited from the same two other easy teams. So maybe that was foolish in hindsight because I am, of course, nothing if not a fool. But I digress. I could see DRX taking a game or two. I don't think it'll be clean. But I can see, I don't know. I'm just too used to dumb shit happening in this fucking game in competitive environments. I'm just too used to dumb shit for me to ever feel comfortable.
Hey,
Really
TL
being
has only beaten IG once.
Okay,
Yeah.
Wow.
And IG proceeded to not be here.
Yep. Don't know where they are. Where's FPX, man?
Yeah, anyway, I'm too used to weird shit happening, so I kind of like to call them close because I'm never fucking sure anything good is ever gonna happen in these games, and it's just gonna be a fucking dumbass infest for a while. So I'm basically hedging and also being an idiot. So we'll see how that plays out for me as a long-term strategy.
All right, we're out of topics this week.
Do you want to take us home?
Yeah, I think that'll do it for us this week on Legendary League of Legends podcast. You can catch us back on our normal nights on Mondays for the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
We'll figure it out eventually.
I don't know how many more shows we have. You catch us live on twitch.tv/Nizzy2K11 at 8 p.m. on Mondays. VODs on my YouTube channel, Legendary Podcast, audio podcast at anchor.fm/LLoLP, or wherever you get your podcasts. Tell me if you need it somewhere special. Otherwise, you can use the RSS thing. Other than that, have a nice day.
Yep.
Good night.